All right, in this problem, we are told that x plus y cubed is equal to 64 and x minus y squared is equal to 64. We're also told that x is greater than y, and we're asked to find what x equals. Now, in order to find what x equals, whenever you're given two variables, you're going to need to eliminate one of the variables. On the right side over here, I've shown one way to do this problem where you solve for y and then plug that value back into the equation and solve for x. That was my first instinct. It actually takes a little longer. There's a little bit quicker way to do it. But again, if you're given two variables in an algebraic problem, meaning you're asked to solve for one of the variables, you're going to need to find a way to eliminate the other variables. These are typically known as systems of equations or a system of equations problem. The fastest way to do this problem is to try to eliminate the y in one step rather than solving for y and then plugging that back into the problem. So let's write out our two equations. Okay, we're going to solve these equations simultaneously and then combine them to eliminate the y, and you'll see what I'm talking about as we go along. So first, let's take the cubed root of this top equation and the square root of the bottom equation, because we're trying to solve for x. We want to get rid of those cubes and squareds to make our lives easier. That leaves us with x minus y equals 8 on the bottom. Square root of 64 is 8. And x plus y is equal to the cubed root of 64 on the top. How do we know the cubed root of 64? I don't recommend that you memorize every cube. It wouldn't be a waste of your time, but I don't recommend you do that. I just recommend you get really familiar with your multiplication tables. Just do them in your free time. It's really going to help you to do the math in your head rather than having to use the calculator every time. If you're really comfortable with your multiplication, then you're able to just guess and check for this problem. I would guess 4. 4 seems to be right. 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 again is 64. So that would work. If you're unsure though, maybe you try 5 first. You see that 5 times 5 is 25, multiplied by 5 is 125, so you know it has to be less than 5. You can try 4, but that really only works if you're really comfortable with multiplication. Otherwise, it would take too long. So I recommend getting really comfortable with that. Now what you see here is if we were to combine these two equations, like add them together, we could actually eliminate the y's because we have a positive y in one and a negative y in the other. And again, that's the whole point of these system of equations problem. We're asked to solve for x. That means we're going to have to eliminate the other variables. So we're going to add these two equations together. X plus x gives 2x. Y minus y gives nothing, cancel each other out. And 4 plus 8 gives 12. Now we simply divide by 2. And we're left with x equals 6, which is the correct answer. And you see we got that in both of our versions of how to do this problem. One quick question we get asked sometimes with this problem is when we take the square root of x minus y and 64, how do we know that it's x minus y equals 8 rather than x minus y equals plus or minus 8? Because we always stress that when you take the square root, you have to include the plus or minus. Well, the reason that we know it's not plus or minus in this case is because we're told in the question prompt that x is greater than y. And that can only be true if x minus y is a positive number, meaning we know x minus y is equal to 8 and not negative 8.